Storytime about how a strange man abused me because I didn't want to give him my phone number. Disclaimers are not my storytime, it's sending me on Instagram. I'm a 34-year-old mother of two. I'm also a single mom, but I do own my own bakery. Most days I work from home, but I do go to the bakery every single day to open and close. Usually have about 4 employees at the bakery at once because we get really busy. On this occasion, one of my workers called out sick, so I decided to step in for her. I dropped my kids off at school and then I went straight to the bakery. Let me just fill you guys in on what I was wearing. I had on a matching set of activewear, so blue leggings and a blue top, which covered my stomach. In other words, I wasn't showing a lot of skin. When I get to the bakery, I see a man sitting in the corner. He had purchased his food and he was eating. I had a quick chat with all my employees asking them how the day was going, and they told me that the man had kept staring at them the entire time. And I look at the guy and sure enough, he is staring at all of us. I asked them to just ignore him. But this was a huge mistake. After a few minutes, the man came back up to the counter. He asked me for a sandwich and I gave it to him. He paid and went back to sit down, but then kept staring at me the entire time. And at my other female employees. Part 2 is up. Storytime about how a strange man abused me because I didn't want to give him my phone number. Disclaimer is not my storytime, it's sending me on Instagram. The guy just kept staring at me and my employees. After a bit, I asked him if he was okay and if he wanted something else. Obviously, he said no and just kept sitting at the table. But again, he kept staring at my employees and at me. This obviously made us uncomfortable, so I decided to do something about it. I decided that the best thing would be to just close the store. I go to the man and tell him that we were going to close and if he needed anything else to buy it now. Then he says, actually, I would like to talk to you. And I said, sure, what's up? Honestly, I thought he was going to ask for a job, but no. He starts complimenting my hair, my body, and told me that I was too beautiful to be working there. That's when I told him that I was actually the owner of the bakery. And he says, wow, that's even more impressive. Let me describe this man. He was actually okay looking, mid-20s, and dressed pretty well. He just looked like a normal guy. Then he asked me to sit down at the table. I said no. That's when he told me that he'd been coming to my bakery for a week and that he'd been watching me. Then he grabbed my hand and pulled me down to sit next to him. Then he proceeds to put his hand on my lap. Creepy. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how a strange man abused me because I did not want to give him my phone number. Disclaimer is not my storytime, I sent him on Instagram. That's when he slid his hand onto my lap. I quickly get up from the table and ask him to leave. That's when he said, why are you freaking out? I'm just trying to get your number. Then I told him that there was absolutely zero chance I would ever give him my phone number. And he said, oh, you think you have a choice? And he holds out his phone so that I could type in my number. I pushed his phone back and again asked him to leave. He threatened me and said that he wouldn't leave until I gave him my number. My knees and hands were shaking. Look back at my employees behind the counter and they are scared. That's when one of my employees says, I'm gonna call the cops. And I said, yes, call them. As soon as I turned back to this man, he swings at me. He wasn't able to reach my face, but then he grabbed me by the shoulders and pushed me down onto the ground. This all happened in about 30 seconds. As I'm on the ground, he starts slapping me. I covered my face with my arms and I just started kicking at him. And my 2 female employees, who by the way are like 17 and 18, started attacking the guy. And then he starts hitting them. Thankfully, 2 men from the street hear me yelling. I came in and tackled him and the police arrived 2 minutes later. I found out this guy was stalking me for a month. I got a restraining order. Be careful.
Am I wrong for telling my sister that she should have gone to college if she wanted a life like mine? My sister and I are twins, 33 female. We come from a culture where arranged marriages are an option. Mostly they are blind dates set by a matchmaker. And if you're compatible, you marry. When we both graduated high school, my sister, who by the way was valedictorian, chose not to attend college. She asked for an arranged marriage since all she wanted to be was a wife and a mother. Nothing wrong with that. My parents, who are a love match, tried to convince her to at least get her bachelor's. She refused. I, on the other hand, started attending an engineering college. I studied computer engineering. A year later, she married a man that she met through the matchmaker. He's a very nice guy, a teacher, and treats my sister like a queen. The thing is, he was just a freshly hired teacher. My sister went from living in a double-income house with parents both being high earners, a doctor and a lawyer, to a single-income house on a teacher's salary. I graduated at 23, started working as a cybersecurity personnel for a big bank. After 2 years of dating around, I too asked for an arranged marriage. My husband is a business owner, real estate developer, and he makes a lot more than I do. He also comes from money. My sister didn't like him from the get-go. She even threw a tantrum, thankfully in private, at my wedding. Apparently, the bridal gifts he brought were tacky. More like very expensive, more than what her husband could get her. The problem is that my first child is now at the age where she'll be starting preschool. We signed her for a private school. The monthly tuition is more than what her husband makes a year. When she heard this, she just exploded. She was ranting about how it's not fair that our kids will not have equal opportunities. How the only reason I could live like I do was that my parents chose a better husband for me. I became angry for how she treats me, how unfair she was to her husband and my parents. I told her I got matched with a better husband because I am a college-educated woman with a respectable job and that wealthy men using matchmakers don't want 19-year-old high school graduates. Their standards are higher. I told her that her husband is a wonderful man who loves her, but if all she wanted was a wealthy man, she should have gone to college. Now she has no contact with me and says I'm an elitist asshole. So, am I?
Storytime about how I've never farted in front of my boyfriend and can't even poop if he's in my house, which led me to pooping in my car by mistake. Disclaimers not my Storytime was sent me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 months. We are so in love and we met through a dating app. He even moved into my apartment. I know some might say it's quick, but it's just meant to be. We are so in love. We get along super well. We're so attracted to each other. Our sexy time is like amazing, like the best I have ever had. And I was the one that asked him to move in with me and he said yes right away. I actually thought he was going to say no, but he was so down for it that I was so happy. Before he moved in, he actually would come over to my house all the time and he started farting in front of me. It was cute, funny, whatever. But I can't bring myself to doing it in front of him. I can't even poo when he's in my apartment, much less could I poo when I was at his. So I found myself having to hold it in all day long. Anytime we would go to a restaurant, I would try to go, but sometimes I just couldn't go because I knew that he was there. It's all become very complicated. Now that he moved into my place, we love watching movies. So we were sitting on the couch watching a movie, and suddenly I felt the urge to go to the bathroom. There was no way I was gonna go poop while he was there. Out of nowhere, I jump up and tell him that I have to go out. Get in my car, part 2 is up. Storytime about how I can't fart in front of my boyfriend or even poop when he's in the same place as me, which caused me to poo in my car by mistake. Disclaimer, this is not my Storytime, it's sending me on Instagram. Out of nowhere, I jump off the couch and tell him I have to go to the supermarket. He offers to go for me and I said no, but in hindsight, I should have said yeah, sure you go, so that I could stay alone in the apartment by myself and go poo. I grab my keys and jump in the car, and then suddenly, I start pooping. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't believe it was happening right then and there. I stopped the car and pulled over and just pooped in my car. Luckily, I was wearing baggy pants, so you couldn't really notice it. Suddenly, I remembered I had an extra change of clothes in my car. I look behind me and there it was, a pair of jeans. I take off my sweatpants and try to wipe myself as best as I could. And I actually went to a CVS, went into the bathroom, cleaned myself. I even bought baby wipes. Oh my god. I changed into the jeans and I got back in the car and went home. When I get home, my boyfriend says, "Did you just change?" Then I told him I ripped my pants somehow in the grocery store. And then he said, "You didn't bring anything back from the grocery store." And I didn't know what to say. Part 3 is up. Time about how I can't fart in front of my boyfriend and this caused me to poop in my car by mistake. Disclaimers are not my Storytime was sent me on Instagram. I told him that I had ripped my pants, so I changed into other pants. And then he asked, "But you didn't bring anything back from the supermarket." And I said, "Oh yeah, you're right." Then I told him that I went to CVS instead because I needed baby wipes, which I actually did buy them, so I showed them to him. But let's remember I had just pooped on myself, so I really wanted to take a shower. So I tell him, "Hey babe, I'm actually gonna take a shower because I just got my period." Then he says, "But you just had your period last week." I just kept digging a bigger and bigger grave. Then he sits me down and says, "What's going on?" I just couldn't lie anymore. And I told him the truth, that I had pooped in the car because I didn't want to poop in the apartment because he was there. That's when he started laughing maniacally and told me that I was being so stupid. To this day, I still can't fart in front of my boyfriend. And I still can't go to the bathroom. I'm not sure how to fix this or how to even go about actually doing it for the first time, so maybe you guys have some ideas. Also, never going back to that CVS because I'm pretty sure I didn't put the pants in the trash and they were just lying on the floor and they saw me go in. What should I do?
I'm 33 and my son 8 is extremely anxious when he has to be with a babysitter. This is because of the fact that he's extremely scared of the dark, and last year, his babysitter locked him in the basement for 6 hours while she had her boyfriend over. He was too short to reach the light switch and cried for hours because he was afraid. Ever since then, he has been extremely wary of strangers and gets too scared to be left alone with them if I'm not around. My husband worked overseas up until 2 months ago when he finally was able to get a position in his company here. So my son has not grown to fully trust him yet. He's been in therapy for a few months now, but I understand that every child is different and that each one progresses within their own pace. I called my cousin 29 and told her that I understand that she wanted no children at our wedding, which is completely reasonable because most kids are very playful, they enjoy running around and making noise, not exactly something someone wants during one of their most special days. So I explained that I would not be able to attend because I can't leave my son alone with a babysitter. However, my husband would still be attending for both of us. When she heard this, she immediately said that I can bring my son along. She knows that he's a shy boy and wouldn't even be noticeable during the wedding. I asked her multiple times if she was sure, and she assured me that it was not an issue, that it's her wedding and she's allowed to make any exceptions that she wants. My cousin and I are very close, as I had no siblings growing up, so she's like a sister to me. Her fiance called me as well to say that he had no issues with my son coming along. When we went to the wedding, everything went smoothly and it was such a beautiful moment. I was so glad that I didn't have to miss this because seeing my cousin in her white dress immediately brought me to tears. No one even really noticed that my son was there because he just sat beside me quietly, probably because it was a crowd filled with a lot of people that he didn't recognize. During the reception, a number of relatives came to me saying that I was disrespectful for bringing my child along after the invitation clearly stated it was a child-free wedding. I explained that my cousin was okay with it and this caused an even bigger issue. The relatives said it was unfair that they couldn't bring their children and I was allowed to bring mine. They also said that my child was being a brat for not staying with a babysitter. This is where I may be the asshole. I told them that it isn't their wedding, therefore they should learn how to mind their own business. My mother says that it was unnecessary for me to be rude to my relatives and I should have just explained the situation to them instead of causing problems with them. Am I the asshole for being rude to my relatives for not minding their own business? I, Jane, 21, was one of Vanessa's 21-3 bridesmaids, and her wedding was held at a remote lodge venue up in a mountain. When everyone got to the lodge, we did a drive-run of the ceremony and surveyed the place. I assumed that the men would go to their cabin and the women would go to ours, and we'd relax before the wedding. Instead, the men immediately headed to the liquor store, and the groom and the bride's mothers began ordering the bridesmaids to move furniture into the place. That night, the women did everything from dragging 250 chairs out of the shed and setting them up, to hauling furniture down 2 flights of stairs and positioning it in other places. Since I was the tallest and strongest person in the group, it was mostly on me to haul the larger pieces around, and the mother and mother-in-law of the bride largely stood around around talking about details with her. I asked repeatedly if the groom and groomsmen could be called to help, but was told that we didn't want to bother them and that they're out unwinding before the big day. The father of the bride has a heart condition and the father-in-law was much older and walking with a cane, so he couldn't help out either. At the end of 2 very sweaty hours, I had splinters, blisters, and was covered in sweat, but everything was set up. During the wedding, I learned that the bride and groom were trying to avoid all of the setup and takedown fees from the venue. The groom's mother condescendingly patted me on the arm and said that everything would be okay because Jane's our workhorse. After a bit more conversation, I found out that the plan was for the bride and groom to leave and then the bridesmaids and groomsmen to stick around and doing everything from cleaning up the trash to moving the furniture back to where we'd gotten it. Toward the end of the party, almost everyone had left, and I realized that the 2 groomsmen were so drunk that they were going to be useless, and it would again be on the bridesmaids to clean up and put all the furniture back up the stairs. I went to tell the bride goodbye. Judging from her slightly panicked expression and the, "Oh, you're leaving? You're leaving now?" questions, I realized that she definitely expected me to move the furniture back, but didn't want to say anything while surrounded by people. So I left, and my phone was blowing up as I was driving down the mountain. The other bridesmaids were texting me, and Vanessa's mother left me an angry voicemail about how I was bailing on my duties as a bridesmaid. The next day, I woke up to a massive paragraph from Vanessa that said it was my fault they had to pay the $500 cleanup fee because they weren't able to get everything put back in time. Am I the asshole for leaving a wedding early as a bridesmaid and causing the wedding to get charged $500 for a cleanup fee?
Am I the asshole for throwing my stepson's Father's Day gift out of my house? I, 38 male, struggled with alcoholism for 3 years. I'm 3 years sober and doing so much better with my life. I got married to my wife last year and have a stepson, 16 male, Jake. We're not close, but we have a cordial relationship and his dad's in the picture, so it's pretty clear that he never sees me as a dad. He does things like gets in trouble and makes me pay for damages or damages my own things. He also mocks my sobriety and I told my wife, but it goes nowhere. Anyway, we had a Father's Day family dinner and Jake surprised me with a gift. The way he was smug smiling, I didn't feel comfortable, and when I went to open it, it was a flask. Am I the asshole for throwing my stepson's Father's Day gift out of my house? There was a flask and a glass. Frankly, I felt like he made fun of and mocked one of my biggest, most difficult struggles in my life. I froze and didn't know what to do or say or act. Everyone was watching me. Jake was giggling hard, and that's when I got pissed. I grabbed the box and told him this doesn't belong in my house, opened the door, walked up to the trash, and threw the entire thing in there. My wife, her mom, and my stepson were watching, and Jake went downstairs. My wife argued with me about what I did, and we got into an argument and her parents left. She said I was childish and Jake was just teasing me and I should loosen up.
Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband to go to his daughter's fencing competition? I, 29 female, am married to my husband, 32 male. He has a daughter from a previous relationship, 12 female, who takes part in competitive fencing. I have a good relationship with her and we are friendly. She lives with her mum, but I see her whenever she stays with us and I've hung out with her plenty. She has a competition on Thursday, and my husband is flying down to see her tomorrow to spend a few days with her before the competition and to see the competition. Normally, I wouldn't have an issue with this, but I'm 39 weeks pregnant with our first child. I could go at any moment, and I have no family at all. I've asked him not to go and suggested that we send her a gift down instead. He is insisting that he has to go and that I will be fine. He has even suggested that my best friend come to stay with me while he is gone, just to be safe. I normally wouldn't mind him going for this, and would even encourage it, but I'm scared and I want him with me right now. He feels she will be too upset if he misses it, and he has to work hard to keep his relationship with her, given the fact he is separated from her mother and having a kid with me. I feel awful for even asking him to not go, and incredibly selfish, as yes, his daughter is important, and I never want to get in the way of their relationship, but I am just terrified of going into labor when he is not there. He has made it clear that he is going no matter what, and is implying that I am being unreasonable to ask him to do otherwise. I don't know, perhaps I am being selfish. Edit. Information that has come up in the comments that should have been in post. Part of the reason I'm scared is that I'm unlikely to last the week. Have been having a hard time with the pregnancy, and I am classed as high risk due to being diabetic. He is also flying out tomorrow and returning Friday evening. Edit 2. Also, yes, for those wondering, I am set to be induced due to being diabetic. It is going to happen on Saturday, which is why he's coming back on Friday. But I don't think I'll last that long. And now in the comments, not the asshole. If my husband did this, he'd be returning to divorce papers and his stuff on the sidewalk. With a pregnant wife this far along, he shouldn't be traveling at all, much less for 5 days. Plus, it's a high-risk pregnancy. Of course, the birth of a baby is more important than a sports event. He is underestimating his 12-year-old by assuming that she would be mad if he skipped the competition. I'm pretty sure she would understand the reason. Not the asshole. There will be other fencing competitions, but there will be only one birth for this child. Also, his daughter is old enough to understand, and he should have no issue with making up for it at a later date. I feel like the men commenting here are clueless, single, and will probably stay that way. The idiot who said it's highly unlikely that she will have the baby in the 5 days he's gone between weeks 39 and 40 is just so incredibly ignorant that I would be embarrassed if I was his mother. Not the asshole. You have a few waving red flags with your husband. First, he has never put you ahead of his daughter, which means your kid is going to be second place. You are vulnerable because you don't have any other family, but this man has made it clear he is not your family. You know that because he dismisses the idea that he won't be there for the birth of your child. I think what you need to do is stop insisting he doesn't go. He has made his choices, and you have to decide what the consequences are. Let's be clear, your husband is the one being selfish in this situation. It is insane that he managed to try and convince you that you were being unreasonable and selfish. This man does not care about you, and I don't know how you end up staying with him. If you can go and stay with your friend now before he leaves, then he'll understand that he is not coming back to you and a baby, but to an empty house, because those are the consequences of abandoning you. I know some people will see that as extreme, but honestly, read this post. What kind of relationship can you have with someone who never has to be there for you? You will always be keeping score and comparing what he does for his daughter versus yours, and I guarantee your kid will get the short end of the stick. Protect your child from the damage this man will do to them. And now, onto the update. Hey everyone, I want to thank everyone who commented on my initial post. Your comments were very helpful, and my doctor ended up deciding that I needed an emergency C-section on Wednesday. My best friend is an absolute saint and went with me to the hospital. She wasn't allowed in the room, so spent that entire time trying to get in touch with my husband. We only managed to get in contact with him after our daughter was born. Once he knew she and I were healthy and fine, he didn't want to fly back. He said we were fine now and the competition still hadn't happened, so there was no point in upsetting his daughter and he would be flying back on Friday anyway. I was rather worn out and numb at this point, so didn't argue, though my friend called him every swear word she could think of. What hurt the most, though, is that he didn't ask for a single picture of our daughter or to Zoom to see her. On Friday morning, he told me he'd be missing his flight back as he felt under the weather and he didn't want to risk it being COVID and bringing it back. I admit this kinda broke me a little, and when I asked him if he didn't want to come home, he told me I was being ridiculous. At this point, I had enough and told him to come back whenever he felt like it, but I would be staying with my friend with the baby when I got out of hospital, as I needed to think about some things. She had been trying to get me to come stay with her anyway, so I knew it'd be fine with her. He simply told me that was fine, and to come back when I'd stopped my hissy fit. I am done. Not once has he asked to see our daughter, or even showed concern for either of us following the emergency C-section. I grew up in care. A mother alone is better than no one, and I know that firsthand. I am not going to try and make things work just for her sake. My best friend and her parents are currently at my home getting all my things, and the baby things to move them to my friend's home. I've also decided on the baby's name. I wanted to name her Violet initially after my best friend V. My husband shot that name down immediately when we knew I was having a girl, as he felt it was an old lady's name. But honestly, I couldn't have done any of this without her. So yeah, that's where I am right now, in a whole lot of pain emotionally and physically, but I have my little girl in my arms. I will likely be talking to some lawyers soon to ask what to do going forward. Thank you again to everyone. You have all helped a great deal. And now in the comments, firstly, congratulations on your baby. So glad Violet, gorgeous name and not at all an old lady's name, is healthy. I wish you both happy healing and that she sleeps well and long. Secondly, I'm so sorry that your husband has shown you who he is and where his priorities lie. Violet does not deserve an asshole who doesn't value her the same as his other children, nor do you deserve that in a partner. Thirdly, good choice getting a lawyer. Regardless of how you choose to move forward, the lawyer can explain your options. What is going to look best to the courts, i.e., do the judges locally like to see an attempt at counseling, what level of visitation will be favorable but not set an expectation of a custody agreement you don't want, etc. Best of luck to you and your baby, and support to you and the people around you. I hate to say this, but he was actively avoiding you. It wasn't as if he was at the game already and couldn't hear the phone. No. The game had not even started, and he knew that you would want to contact him while he was away. So he decided that neither you nor your daughter was worth his time when the both of you needed him the most. I hope you pull through this even stronger than you are. He definitely does not deserve you nor your daughter. Honestly, divorce him. There is literally nothing that can be done. He could have gone to 1,000 future competitions for his daughter. He can never go back to your daughter's birth. The only way to move forward is to forgive him for doing the most stupidly selfish thing ever. He has been rude, vile, inconsiderate, and generally horrible. It sounds like you have a good support system. You should stay with him until he respectfully apologizes with full emotional competence for what he did wrong at the very least. I'd probably just dump someone solely for calling my completely justified emotions a hissy fit. Even if the emotions aren't justified, that's still a really shitty way to talk to your partner. Imagine being overdue and your husband is not treating you and the birth of a child as a priority. The abandonment and the betrayal. The second a partner invalidates your feelings, it's time to rethink the relationship. So many unforgivable acts. Leaving when your high-risk pregnant wife is 39 weeks. I was expected to go past my due date and still ended up giving birth at 39 weeks. Then not rushing back after hearing about an emergency C-section? His wife could have died, and their baby girl would not have a single person who could make medical decisions. And even if a C-section goes swimmingly, OP still had a major surgery and was literally sliced open. Everyday life would be a challenge, not to mention newborn care. Bless her friend for being there for her. I hope OP has a good life away from that pathetic excuse of a husband/dad. My wife is pregnant now, and it's been made abundantly clear that starting at 36 weeks, I am not more than 20 minutes from her until delivery. I can't fathom going anywhere far enough away to require an aircraft. Not a chance. My best guy friend just told me he's in love with me 2 days before my wedding. I've been with my fiancé for 3 years, engaged for a little over a year. My best friend and I have known each other since freshman year of college. We are all in our early 30s. This morning, I woke up to a long-ass text from my guy best friend that he had sent at around 6 a.m. Basically, it was him pouring his heart out. He said he's been in love with me for years, but always hoped I'd end up breaking up with my fiancé and finally notice him. He asked me to call off the wedding and run away with him. It said, I needed to tell you before it was too late. I just feel gross. And sad. I have no feelings for him beyond platonic love. I've drafted a response and deleted it over and over. I haven't even told my fiancé. I don't want him to have to worry about me so close to our wedding. I know I need to, but I don't know what to do or how to phrase it. What is worse is that he's become my fiancé's friend too. I'm also pretty pissed that my friend chose such an unfortunate time to cause me such distress. There were so many times over the years he could have just buckled up and told me how he felt, but waiting until right before I'm married? Like I would just cancel my wedding and leave my fiancé because of a goddamn text? I want to tell him to not come to the wedding. I can't trust that he wouldn't try to pull something. I don't even know if I want to talk to him again, but the thought of losing my best friend is heartbreaking. Hell, the thought of not having him at my wedding is really painful. He has put me in an uncomfortable, impossible situation. I wish it wasn't on me to deal with his feelings for him. I wish he had either stopped being friends with me when he realized us ending up together would never happen, or had told me a while ago. I don't want to kick him while he's down, but I need to make it clear that I have no feelings, the wedding is still on, and I don't want him to attend. We have been friends for over a decade. I've been crying over this all day. I feel almost disgusted knowing that this whole time he had ulterior motives. How do I even go about dealing with this? I'm supposed to get married in under 48 hours. And edit, I'll be showing the text to my fiancé after he gets home from his brother's place. I won't send anything until he's here with me. And now in the comments, Guy has seen way too many rom-coms. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if he had been hoping for some Pam or Jim scenario. Show your fiancé the text and let him feel his own feelings too. Just send, "You are my friend and nothing more. I need to process my thoughts, so don't come to the wedding and don't contact me. I will contact you when I am ready." And then mute him if you can. If he tries to message again, block him. It really sucks, but you just need to put this to one side and enjoy your wedding. And OP says, "This is a good idea. I wasn't planning on having my phone the day of anyways." Also, have someone you are close to semi-aware of the situation and that you don't want him there. You don't have to give all the details, but just something as simple as, "I'm no longer comfortable having him here, and if he shows up, I need your help to kick him out so I don't have to worry about it." I would definitely not invite him to the wedding anymore. Show your husband the text and just be like, "Oh my god," or "WTF?" You haven't done anything wrong. Your friend is the one who did this. You don't seem confused about any of this, and so I don't have a lot of advice for you. Just, man, that sucks. The best thing might be to shut it out of your mind and deal with your wedding. You said, "I need to make it clear that I have no feelings, the wedding is still on, and I don't want him to attend." Say that, just that, and then don't spend any time elaborating. If he persists, tell him you don't have time for that crap because you're about to get married. He might still show up to the ceremony, so brace yourself for it. Awkward as it is, I think you should mention this to your fiancé now rather than later. Partly for full disclosure, and partly so he'll be prepared in case your friend shows up to the ceremony or escalates.
Tender touch, drunk love, staying up just to talk to you. You stayed in touch, 2 continents, through all odds. Seems every night, yeah, all the time I'm calling out to you. Seems every time I take a drink I'm reaching out for you.
And now on to the update. Hi everyone. My husband, I love being able to say that now, and I got back from our honeymoon yesterday. I turned on my phone and opened the Reddit tab, and it was still signed into this account, so I had an "oh yeah" moment, and figured I'd post an update. So a lot of people here really helped validate the icky mess of feelings I was having. Thank you for that. Posting here really helped put my thoughts into words. So that night, my fiancé got home from his brother's. I let him sit down and then I showed him the text. He read it, and I watched his eyes get bigger and bigger, and expression angrier. Of course, I started apologizing like an idiot, and he told me that I didn't owe him an apology for anything. We talked, and he told me he figured the guy had a crush, but kept it respectful, and really, he had. We were close, but beyond a side hug during greetings and goodbyes, there was no physicality. I even let him read our past messages, just to see that there was no emotional affair or me leading him on. I never even vented about my fiancé when we would have arguments, because I knew better than to do that. I'd talk to my mum, lol. So my fiancé asked me what I wanted to do, and I said that while it did sadden me, I didn't want him at our wedding. I was afraid that he would try some nonsense. We typed up a brief message, and it said, "Friend, I'm sorry that you mistook my friendship for something more. The wedding is going to happen, and it'd be best if you didn't attend." To be clear, I let fiancé read this message, and he stands by my decision to uninvite you. We wanted to make it clear that it was me who wanted him to not come, not just my fiancé. Knowing him, he would probably claim that fiancé forced me to uninvite him. He read the message and left it on read for a while. I honestly started getting pretty anxious over it, and fiancé asked me if I wanted to block him. Part of me wanted to, and part of me wanted to hear him out. And when he finally responded, the text was so long that I had to click on it to read it. It was horrible. He called me a liar for leading him on for over a decade, that he hoped my fiancé left me and that we were infertile. It was just horrible thing after horrible thing, and I started crying. Fiancé took my phone into the other room while I sobbed. I think he called him, but I'm not sure. What I do know is after about an hour, he came back in, handed me my phone back, and told me that my friend was now blocked on everything, would not be attending, and the best man and my maid of honor knew of the situation and would handle it for me. It was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, honestly. After reading that message, I really wasn't so sad that my friend wouldn't be attending anymore. And our wedding frickin' rocked. We had the time of our lives, surrounded by people who loved us and we loved them. It still feels like a dream, to be honest, and if friend tried to show up, I never heard anything of it. I guess that's the update. It's not nearly as dramatic and crazy as what people hoped for, I feel like, but I am happy. And now in the comments, you were engaged to someone else, but he thought you were leading him on? Probably a good thing he showed his true colors. It makes losing them from your life an easy decision with no guilt. Carrying a secret love for 10 years, and then just flinging it away a flippin' couple days before the wedding instead of manning up, then going into full Texas cheerleader mum mode, and probably regretted it 20 minutes later. Nah, karma at work, for all three of them. I will add one thing, OP's husband is the silent hero. Calm, reasonable, caring, but swift with righteous anger. Love the response. Yikes. Your new husband sounds lovely and caring, and your ex-friend sounds, extremely unpleasant. In his fantasy world, I guess you were just dating your husband to tantalize him, huh? What a guy. I am so happy to hear that you are surrounded by people who love you. This guy leaving your life is so not a loss, it's a gain. After 20 years and 5 children, she is really playing hard to get. What a flirt. OP and her husband handled it the exact right way. Did that ex-friend really think his one mere text was going to stop this wedding and that she was going to run to his arms? This guy definitely sounds like a nice guy, and he watches way too many rom-coms. Not only a text, even if he confessed his love over a candlelit dinner or something, it would be frickin' moronic. Led on for a decade? Imagine being friends with someone, never progressing for a decade, that person gets engaged, and you think, showtime, I'm gonna sweep them off their feet. What a peanut. Led on for a decade, by dating and then getting engaged to someone else. Yeah, super mixed messages there, buddy. Ooh, nothing like insulting the woman you loved for 10 years after she told you she only sees you as a friend. Good riddance for OP and her husband. One less asshole to worry about in their lives. This right here, the dude definitely didn't really love her. He just let her crush fester until it got out of control and he got possessive. Didn't even try to preserve a 10-year friendship after not getting his way. She dodged a huge bullet shaped like a man baby. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for kicking my brother and his family out after his son stole my engagement ring? The reason I, 26 male, know is because I literally caught him in my room going through my things, and it's on frickin' camera. My nephew is 9 and has a habit of stealing things. They have gotten in trouble a few times at stores because he'd leave with something in his pockets. But of course, because he's a kid, they usually just say that he forgot he had it. Even at school, my brother has told me they have had to come talk to the principal a couple occasions. Doesn't seem like they've done anything to stop it. They had to come stay here with me because my brother lost his job and they weren't going to make it with all their bills, including rent. He's doing Uber right now while he searches for a job and they can move out. I didn't want to because of my nephew specifically, but family is family, I guess. A month ago, I finally bought an engagement ring for my girlfriend that I was planning on proposing to soon, but now I don't know. It's a $4,000 ring that I spent over a year saving up for. It's been hidden in my room under one of my drawers. Over time, when I found him snooping in my room, I told my brother to control his damn kid. Then got one of those cheap spy cams in my room just in case. Then last week, I noticed it was out of its box. After checking the cam, it showed he was in there again when I wasn't home. My brother and his wife have yelled at him. He says he left it by the TV in the guest room, but it is not there. They looked through all their stuff and his too. I know for a fact he's lying about not having it because it's the same thing he said about one of my watches he took, then ended up finding it. By the second day, my brother tells me they can't find it at all. And I told him either they find the ring or he repays me the $4,000 I spent on it. If not, they can't stay here anymore. My brother got really upset. He told me I know how their situation is right now, and yeah, it's a tough spot, but I couldn't ignore the fact that his kid he can't parent took something extremely important to me that costed a lot of time and money. They were given a week to leave my house if they don't find the ring. They are having to stay at a cheap motel, but my brother won't stop begging to come back because what they are paying right now each night is coming directly out of their savings. He won't stop calling me heartless about letting something like this come between helping them out through a difficult time, and my nephew keeps saying he is sorry. It's just hard right now to want them around. I don't even know what to do about the ring, and every time I think about it, it just makes me so mad that it's hard to care about their situation. Does that make me an asshole? And now in the comments, not the asshole. They sold the ring. I think so too. At this point, why won't his nephew say where it went? The thing is, with kleptomaniacs, they often don't know what to do with the things they steal. He may have washed it down the sink, flushed it down the toilet, buried it in the garden, etc., just to hide it. It's not so much about having things, it's about taking them. It's highly unfortunate that he took something so important, and his parents definitely need to get him help, and should have done so already, which could have prevented this. Yeah, I hate to agree with this, but when I was the nephew's age, I was being abused at home, and it came out in a weird phase of kleptomania. I didn't know what to do with the things I stole, so most of the time I threw them away out of fear. He probably did the same. And OP says, "Oh crap, I never thought about all this. All weekend I've been doing a deep cleaning trying to see if maybe he hid it somewhere. I'm freaking praying I find it soon." The watch he took from me was literally hidden inside one of his pair of shoes in the closet. I don't know why he does this, but there has definitely been times he's strategically hidden things he stole. Not the asshole. File a police report and file a claim with your homeowner's insurance. And OP says, "I don't have homeowner's insurance, it is not a house." File a police report anyway, and if it gets pawned, the police will be able to track it back to you. Check out some pawn shops on your own. File a police report, and take them to small claims. You have the proof on camera, not the asshole. Hopefully not, but there is a possibility he was encouraged to do it, and it was pawned. And OP says, "Nobody knew that I got a ring for my girlfriend. It's been hidden in my room before they even came to live with me." It just seems odd that the ring is now gone. I know kids lose things because they put them in odd places. Just knowing your family is financially in trouble, although I don't know them personally, it wouldn't be inconceivable that they might have sold it. And OP says, "It is a possibility, but I also know my nephew is a liar and likely knows where it is but won't say anything. This isn't the first time something is stolen that he acts completely innocent about until it's found somewhere he hid it. Which is why you need to instill the fear of God in him and have the cops show up at their motel room door. Couldn't hurt to try that. After all, this kid has gotten away with stealing things from stores with no consequences. But stealing a $4,000 engagement ring is a serious felony, so he needs to fully understand that. What better way to show him how serious this situation is if a couple of cops show up and explain things, especially since I'm pretty sure that he is old enough to be sentenced to juvenile hall, or detention, whatever they call it in your area. And now, on to the update. So many of you have asked non-stop for an update. Sorry it took me a while to log back on, but lots of stuff has been going on. Yes, I found the ring. It was a stressful day doing a deeper search of my house, trying to think like my nephew and looking in places where I think he'd hide something if he really didn't want it to be found. And the decision was, if it really wasn't found and my brother wasn't able to get him to talk, or they wouldn't be able to pay back what I'm owed, then the police would get involved. He did beg me not to, but I told him then you better pray I find it, or you come up with the money to pay me for it. I guess both our prayers worked, because guess where I found it? In the frickin' sink. The sink. And thanks to the comments who told me to look in those places. I don't know what I would have done otherwise. It was the sink that was in their guest room. I'm glad he didn't just throw it away. You guys don't know how frickin' relieved I was to find it. It took some work to remove the P-trap under the sink to get it out, but I was just so happy to find it. Same night my girlfriend, fiancé, wink, got back, I proposed to her and she said yes. After a romantic dinner, just the two of us at home, the plan was to wait, but after all this crap I thought, F it, I'm proposing ASAP before anything else happens. After my brother heard about me finding the ring, he thought this meant they could come back. I said no. He wanted to argue about this again, and all I told him was he's lucky I haven't gone to the cops since there was already video evidence of his son taking the ring, and there is no way I'm letting them back in when my nephew wouldn't even say what he did with the ring. I talked with my nephew myself after I found the ring, but he just said he didn't want to tell anyone because then I'd be mad at him for hiding it. Honestly, I just don't have the energy for them anymore. His problem is their problem, and hopefully they get him help before it's too late. Only thing important to me is my fiancé and I starting our lives and planning our wedding. Thank you Reddit for your help. Seriously, you guys were my lifesavers. Edit to add, I just received this news after already submitting my post for approval, and just wanted to add because I'm so happy, but girlfriend also informed me she's pregnant. She found out while she was on her trip and was waiting for a good time to tell me. Not related to the post, but I don't care. I'm gonna be a dad. And now in the comments, the fact that the kid refused to tell you where it was and his parents refused to make him means you were absolutely in the right and would be crazy to let them back in. Little brat is going to end up in prison if his parents don't wake up. Exactly. If he is stealing, lying, and manipulating people to this level at 9 and his parents do nothing but enable him, imagine where he's going to be at 19. It wasn't in the sink, it was in the drain pipe. Oh my god. I'm so happy for you that you found the ring and got your brother's family out. Amazing update. Yeah, thank goodness he didn't flush it down the toilet. Congrats on finding it and not letting the thieving trio back in. Make sure to keep the video, and also make sure to inform your family you kicked them out because they stole several times, and you have the last one on tape, before they start the waterworks telling everyone how you made their little angel homeless out of greed. Also, I'm assuming that they won't be getting invited to the wedding after what they've done. Family will need to be told why. I can imagine that gut-clenching feeling when an item you saved an entire year for goes missing and the person responsible won't say where it is. I don't blame him for kicking them out. Especially when you have a kid known for stealing living in your home. I would have either long ago gotten a safe or put the ring somewhere stupid, like taped to the back of a dresser drawer, so the only way to know it's there is if you take off the drawer. It was under the drawer, so the kid would have had to remove the drawer to find it. That's where I hid my most secret things when I was a kid. It doesn't matter where you put it. Family is supposed to be a safe guarantee that nobody will take something from you. I had the same problem with a nephew who took me as a usual customer. He was diagnosed as klepto and was in therapy for that and a lot of other issues. I wasn't allowed to say anything because it wasn't my son, but the last time, he took half the money I had to pay my college. I was 19, he was 14. That time, I said, screw it, if nobody is doing anything to stop it, I will. He used to only be scolded, and that day I went to the police to make a statement of what happened. In my country, there is that, without consequences. I told him next time I would make a formal report, and then he would be taken to jail. He never again took stuff from me, only from other people, until another big incident where he was caught red-handed and beaten by a couple men. My mum was scared because she believed he would become a delinquent, but according to the therapist, that only happens when the family allows it without any consequences and even enable the situation. OP's nephew was going that road because the parents do nothing about it.
Am I the asshole for fake sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying? The past couple of months, my wife has been complaining about our cats. She's been claiming that the cats wake her up constantly and that she's frustrated every night that she has to get up and open the door for the cats. Or the cats keep making noises, or the cats keep jumping on her. It got me to the point where she started saying she wants me to get rid of them. I've told her I've never seen or heard any of this, but she claims I sleep through it all. She kept telling me that she was getting less and less sleep and kept acting aggressive, blaming lack of sleep from the cats and that if I didn't get rid of them, she'd leave me. I legitimately started considering giving the cats to my sister until I noticed something. One morning, she claimed she had gotten up multiple times throughout the night to help the cats. She listed a bunch of times. I thought it was weird because I had been up until 4 a.m. and she claimed that she got up at 1 a.m. to open the door for them and a few times around 3 a.m. because they were meowing and jumping on her. I was in the bedroom the entire time while she slept, and I know none of this happened. Things weren't adding up, so I decided to run a test. I waited until she said she was going to bed, then I let the cats out of our bedroom. I lowered my phone brightness and faked going to sleep. I just laid there in my bed for the entire night bored, but I definitely did not fall asleep. I made sure to make timestamps every 30 minutes on my phone through Discord just to be sure. I marked down every noise my cats made. One cat had jumped down from something and made a little noise around 3:18 a.m. and one ate food relatively quietly by the bedroom door at 4:57 a.m. Other than that, nothing happened. Sure enough, my wife slept from 11 p.m. until 9 a.m. and that morning she claimed she had woken up at least 7 times to open doors from the cat noises and cats jumping on her. At this point, I was pissed because she was clearly lying to me. I was exhausted and fed up with the lies, so I bluntly called her out on it. I told her, that's funny, I stayed up all night to monitor the cats and they weren't even in the room at all last night. I have timestamps and everything, so you've been lying to me and trying to convince me to get rid of my cats? Why? She just sat there quietly shaking and looking pissed, then got up and left without answering. She came back hours later and ignored me whenever I talked, and when I asked her how I'm the bad guy in the situation, she finally said that I was treating her like a child by lying about sleeping and staying up all night just to see if she was lying or not. And that making timestamps and everything as if I was an investigator was going too far and makes me an obsessive asshole. I did it because she was threatening to make me get rid of the cats or she'd leave me, and her claims didn't add up. So am I the obsessive asshole here? Update, my wife has been Baker acted. She did not hurt herself, just said something concerning in public. I got a call from the hospital this morning asking me to head over to some family therapy. Apparently she finally wanted to talk. I'll be honest, I'm pretty pissed at the reason why she's been so hateful towards my cats. It's absolutely insane. It's nothing that anyone has suggested. She's not cheating, she's not sick physically or mentally, she's not bored of the relationship or looking for an out. According to her, one of the cats stepped on her laptop and ruined a story she was writing. She's hated both cats ever since. I mean, that sucks, but it's not worth trying to emotionally blackmail me into getting rid of them. I asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth and why she'd been lying and refused to talk about it when I asked. Her answer was, because you wouldn't have gotten rid of them otherwise, and explained that when she saw I wasn't willing to abandon them for her, she took offense and made it a goal to have me pick her over them. Sickening. Don't know why she actually admitted to it all. The woman with us asked me how I felt about all of it, and I just told the truth. I told her it was a nice run, but I'm probably going to want a divorce. I was asked why, and I told them. I see a new hateful, malicious side of her that I want nothing to do with. She was so set on getting rid of the cats over a fan fiction being ruined that she manipulated her husband. My wife started shouting at me that I betrayed her and that I'm a scum for choosing animals over her. At least cats don't give ultimatums like she gave. It sucks that she's been Baker acted and all, I guess, but it's for the best right now. She'll have time to process it in a safe environment and hopefully come to terms with it. Bad husband, I know. I'm almost sure I'm going for divorce. I'm very worried about having her in the same house as my cats. I want my cats safe and I don't want to worry about them being harmed or disappearing. Screw that. Guess I'll do what almost all of you suggested. Keep the cats, rehome the wife. Not how I wanted it to end, but life isn't always nice.